The seating chart lay on my sister's desk, a masterpiece of social engineering. Color-coded dots indicated guest importance. Gold for major donors, silver for society elite, blue for family friends. And there, in the far corner behind a decorative palm, was my name in pencil. Table 18 works for Charlotte, Isabelle said, not looking up from her phone. Behind the plants. Out of sight from the main floor. You're seating me behind foliage? I asked quietly. It's a charity gala, Charlotte. 500 guests. Minor royalty. Cabinet ministers. People operating at a certain level. She finally looked at me, her expression a mix of pity and condescension. You're sweet, but you're not ready for this crowd. Better to keep you tucked away where you won't feel overwhelmed. I was standing in Isabelle's penthouse apartment, bought with family money, decorated by an interior designer who'd charged more than most people's annual salaries. My sister, at 35, was the golden child, society darling, charity fundraiser extraordinaire, married to a hedge fund manager whose family owned half of Kensington. I was 32, unmarried, and according to my family, still finding myself. The plants are lovely, I said mildly. Very decorative. I knew you'd understand. This event is crucial for my reputation. The Princess Royal is attending. The Duke and Duchess of somewhere. I can never remember which duchy. Point is, serious people. You'd be uncomfortable at the main tables. Our mother appeared from the bedroom, elegant in Dior, carrying Isabelle's dress in a garment bag. Charlotte, darling, you're here. Did Isabelle explain about the seating? Table 18. Behind the plants. Perfect. You'll be much more comfortable there. She smoothed Isabelle's hair. This is going to be the event of the season. Isabelle's raised over £2 million for children's literacy. The press will be everywhere. 2.4 million actually, Isabelle corrected, checking her reflection. And that's before tonight's auction. Remarkable, Mother said. Charlotte, you should take notes. This is how you build a meaningful life. Real impact. Real connections. I smiled and said nothing. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from my private secretary. Security detail confirmed for tonight. Palace protocol officers on standby. HRH will arrive at 1945. I typed back, acknowledged. Maintain discretion. Charlotte, are you paying attention? Isabelle's voice cut through my thoughts. I was explaining the dress code. Black tie obviously. Do you have something appropriate? Please tell me you're not wearing that awful navy thing from last year. I have something. Show me. It's at home. She sighed dramatically. Well, whatever you choose, keep it simple. We don't want you standing out. This isn't your night. Our father arrived, distinguished in his tuxedo, his chest already displaying his OBE medal. Sir Edward Ashford, retired diplomat, member of 3 prestigious clubs, advisor to 2 charitable foundations. Pie girls. Both looking lovely. Isabelle, your mother tells me the Princess Royal confirmed. Yes, Daddy. She's attending with her private secretary. We'll have a brief receiving line. Excellent. Charlotte, you'll stay clear of the receiving line, won't you? Don't want to create confusion about family hierarchy. Of course, Dad. Good girl. This is Isabelle's triumph. Let her shine. I excused myself and took a taxi back to my flat in Belgravia, the modest 2-bedroom my family believed I could barely afford on my charity salary. In reality, the flat was one of 12 properties I owned across London. But my family had never asked enough questions to learn that. I called my private secretary. James, status update? Everything is arranged, ma'am. Your dress has been delivered. Hair and makeup will arrive at 5. Security has swept the venue. And I've confirmed with the palace. Their Royal Highnesses will arrive precisely at 1945 and will ask to speak with you directly. And my family has no idea? None whatsoever. As far as they know, you work for a small literacy charity in an administrative capacity. Perfect. Let's keep it that way for a few more hours. The truth was complicated. Yes, I worked in literacy. But not as an administrator for a small charity. I was Charlotte Ashford, founder and director of the Ashford Foundation, one of the largest educational charities in the Commonwealth. Over the past 8 years, I'd built an organization that provided literacy programs to 2.3 million children across 47 countries. We had an annual budget of £340 million, partnerships with 12 national governments, and the direct patronage of the royal family. Last year I'd been awarded an OBE for services to education. I'd received it privately, asking the palace not to publicize it, and my family still didn't know. They thought I worked for someone else's charity, making maybe £35,000 a year, struggling to make ends meet in London. I'd never corrected them. It was easier to let them assume than to fight their predetermined narrative of who I was. But tonight that narrative was going to shatter. I arrived at the gala at 7:15 p.m., dressed in a midnight blue gown by Jenny Packham. Simple, elegant, exactly the kind of thing that wouldn't draw attention. My hair was swept up in a classic chignon. Minimal jewelry except for my grandmother's pearls. I looked exactly like what I was. Someone comfortable at high society events, even if my family believed otherwise. The venue was spectacular. The Natural History Museum's main hall, transformed into a glittering ballroom. Ice sculptures, champagne fountains, a string orchestra playing Vivaldi. 500 guests in formal wear, mingling among the dinosaur exhibits. I found table 18 easily. Behind a large potted palm, partially obscured from the main floor, tucked next to the service entrance. The other seats were filled with distant relatives and family friends. People Isabelle wanted at her event but didn't want prominently displayed. Charlotte. My Aunt Beatrice spotted me. Oh dear, they've put you back here too? I suppose we're the overflow table. Appears so. Well, at least we have a good view of the palm fronds. I smiled and checked my phone. A text from James. Royal Motorcade departed Kensington Palace. 12 minutes. My sister was holding court near the entrance, greeting guests with practiced charm. My parents flanked her, both beaming with pride. I watched as minor royalty arrived, as cabinet ministers made their entrances, as society photographers captured every moment. Isabelle was in her element, performing philanthropy like a Broadway show. At 7:43 p.m. the room's energy shifted. Security personnel appeared at the entrances, subtle but unmistakable. Palace protection officers in dark suits, scanning the crowd. The museum director rushed to the entrance, accompanied by Isabelle and my parents. Then the announcement. Their Royal Highnesses the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. The room collectively held its breath. William and Catherine entered, both impossibly elegant, both smiling graciously as Isabelle curtsied and my parents bowed. I stayed seated at table 18 watching from behind the palm. The receiving line proceeded. Isabelle was clearly delighted, gesturing animatedly as she explained the charity's work. My parents looked ready to burst with pride. Then something unexpected happened. Catherine looked past Isabelle, scanning the room. She said something to her private secretary, who immediately began walking through the crowd. Toward table 18. Toward me. Miss Charlotte Ashford? I stood. Yes. Her Royal Highness would like to speak with you. Would you please come with me? My Aunt Beatrice gasped. Charlotte? Do you know the Duchess? We've met, I said simply, following the private secretary. Every head in the room turned to watch as I was escorted from table 18, past the main tables, directly to where William and Catherine stood with my utterly confused family. Charlotte. Catherine's face lit up with genuine warmth. She stepped forward, taking my hands. How wonderful to see you. I told William we absolutely had to make time to see you tonight. She air-kissed both my cheeks, the greeting reserved for friends, not strangers. My sister's mouth had fallen open. My mother looked like she might faint. Your Royal Highness, I said, curtsying properly. Thank you for coming. We wouldn't have missed it, William said, shaking my hand warmly. The Ashford Foundation's work is extraordinary. Catherine and I were just discussing your Kenya program last week. Isabelle found her voice strangled and confused. I'm sorry. Charlotte's Foundation. Catherine turned to her, polite but puzzled. Yes, the Ashford Foundation. Charlotte founded it 8 years ago. We've been patrons for the past 5 years. She looked at me. Have you not told your family about your work? It never quite came up, I said. William laughed. Charlotte's far too modest. The Ashford Foundation is one of the most effective educational charities in the Commonwealth. They've reached over 2 million children with literacy programs. Remarkable achievement. My father's voice was faint. Charlotte, founded a foundation? The Ashford Foundation, Catherine confirmed. Surely you know? Charlotte's been recognized internationally for her work. The UN honored her last year. And she received her OBE from the Queen for services to education. Obey. My mother swayed slightly. My father caught her arm. We should discuss the Kenya expansion, William said to me. I understand you're partnering with the Kenyan Ministry of Education? Sir. We're implementing literacy programs in 400 schools starting next term. Brilliant. And the funding? Secured. We have government commitments and private donors covering the full 5-year rollout. Isabelle grabbed my arm, her voice a desperate whisper. Charlotte, what is happening? You work for a charity. You make £35,000 a year. You live in a tiny flat. I founded a charity, I corrected gently. I make nothing. Directors of charitable foundations don't take salaries in the UK. And I live in a flat in Belgravia that I own outright, along with 11 other properties. Catherine's private secretary approached. Ma'am, forgive the interruption, but you asked me to ensure time for photos with Ms. Ashford. Yes, of course. Charlotte, would you mind? For the foundation's social media. Not at all, Your Royal Highness. We moved to a better lit area where the official photographer was waiting. Catherine positioned herself beside me, both of us smiling as cameras flashed. I'm sorry about the surprise, I murmured. My family didn't know about my work. I gathered, she whispered back, still smiling for cameras. Though I can't imagine how. Your foundation is rather well known. They never asked. She squeezed my hand sympathetically. Well, they know now. The photos finished and William and Catherine needed to circulate. But before leaving, Catherine turned back to Isabelle. Ms. Ashford, your event tonight is lovely. Though I'm curious, how much have you raised for literacy programs? £2.4 million, Isabelle said, her voice weak. Wonderful. That's excellent work. Catherine smiled. Charlotte's foundation distributed over £300 million to literacy programs last year alone. Perhaps you two should collaborate? Combine resources. She swept away with William, leaving my family standing in shocked silence. The room was buzzing. Everyone had witnessed the exchange. Everyone had seen the royal family greet me as a colleague and friend while my own family looked on in confusion. Isabelle's charity event had been completely overshadowed. By me. By the sister they'd hidden behind a plant. My father found his voice first. Charlotte, I don't understand. You said you worked in charity administration. I said I worked in literacy education. You assumed I meant administration. But the Ashford Foundation, that's a major organization. I've read about it in the Times. Yes. And you founded it? You run it? Yes. My mother grabbed my hand. Why didn't you tell us? All these years we thought you were struggling. We worried about your career. Your future. Did you? Or did you just decide I wasn't successful because I didn't fit your definition of achievement? Isabelle's face was red, tears threatening. You let me plan this entire event thinking I was the successful one. Thinking you were nobody. I never said I was nobody. You decided that. Because I wasn't married to wealth or raising money at charity balls, you assumed I'd failed. That's not fair. Isn't it? You seated me at table 18 behind a plant because I wasn't ready for high society guests. Meanwhile, I've spent 8 years working with governments and royal families to educate millions of children. The museum director approached, looking apologetic. Excuse me, Ms. Ashford? The Duchess wanted me to ask if you'd be willing to say a few words about the Foundation's work? Since their Royal Highnesses are here specifically to support your programs. Isabelle made a strangled sound. Of course, I said. I'd be honored. I was escorted to the podium where Isabelle had planned to give her keynote speech. The irony was not lost on anyone. Good evening, I began, looking out at 500 faces. For those who don't know me, I'm Charlotte Ashford, founder of the Ashford Foundation. We work on literacy education in underserved communities across the Commonwealth. I spoke for 10 minutes about our programs, our impact, our partnerships with the royal family and various governments. I showed photos of children learning to read, of schools we'd built, of lives transformed through education. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. William and Catherine stood applauding enthusiastically. The rest of the room followed their lead. I returned to table 18, my assigned seat behind the palm, and found it surrounded by people wanting to talk, to donate, to partner with the foundation. My family stood at the edge of the crowd, displaced from the center of attention, watching as their hidden daughter became the evening's centerpiece. The event ended at midnight. I was exhausted from conversations with donors, from fielding partnership proposals, from smiling for photographs. My parents found me as I was leaving. "Charlotte, we need to talk," Dad said. About why you hid this from us. About why you let us believe." "I didn't hide anything. I told you exactly what I did. You chose not to listen because it didn't match what you expected from me." My mother's voice broke. "We would have supported you. We would have helped. Would you? When I started the foundation 8 years ago, I tried to tell you about it. You asked if I was volunteering to feel better about not having a real career. When I mentioned my first government partnership, you asked if that meant I was finally getting paid. You measured my worth against Isabelle's society fundraising and found me lacking. We made mistakes. You made assumptions. You decided who I was without ever asking. And tonight, you seated me behind a plant at your charity event while I was running an organization 50 times the size of yours." Isabelle approached, her mascara ruined, her perfect evening in shambles. "Charlotte, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "I know. That's the problem. Can you forgive us?" I looked at my sister, brilliant, accomplished, but so trapped in her own worldview that she'd never seen mine. "Maybe. Eventually. But things can't go back to how they were." "What do you want from us?" "I want you to understand that hiding me behind plants because I don't fit your definition of success was cruel. That dismissing my work because I don't perform achievement your way was wrong. That I built something extraordinary while you pitted me." I walked away, leaving them in the museum's grand hall. Their perfect event turned into a revelation they hadn't wanted. The next morning, the photographs were everywhere. The Duke and Duchess with me. Stories about the Ashford Foundation. Headlines like "Royal Family Honors Hidden Philanthropist" and "Society Sister Learns Siblings' Secret Success." Isabelle's charity event was mentioned only as the venue where the story broke. My family called repeatedly. I didn't answer. 3 days later, my mother appeared at my office. The actual office, the headquarters of the Ashford Foundation, 5 floors in Mayfair with a staff of 40. "Charlotte, please. We need to make this right." "How?" "By supporting you. By acknowledging what you've built. By doing what you should have done 8 years ago." "It's too late for that, Mom." "It can't be too late. You're our daughter." "Am I?" "Because daughters are usually seen by their families." "No." "Understood. You saw what you wanted to see and ignored the rest." He was crying. "What can we do?" "Start by understanding that success isn't measured in society galas and hedge fund marriages. That impact matters more than visibility. That the daughter you hid behind a plant was changing millions of lives while you worried about seating charts." I wasn't cutting them off. But I wasn't pretending anymore either. They wanted a relationship with the real me. They'd have to earn it. By learning to see beyond their own narrow definition of worth. By understanding that the most powerful work often happens quietly. By recognizing that the sister they'd dismissed had been extraordinary all along. They just hadn't bothered to notice. Until the royal family made them look.